So I call myself a happinista. And I'm not a fashionista at all. I'm just a happinista. I just wear what makes me happy. As you can tell, I'm wearing everything today from local designers. I love to support Latin American fashion designers. And I'm so happy today because I'm grateful enough to call this panel my friends. They're powerful ladies. They're fabulous, you can tell just to looking at them, but they are like good human beings. I'm all about women empowerment, and every one of them represent that. So I'm gonna do a small presentation because they're gonna present themselves. So let's start with Gabby. Gabby Smith, she's from the Upcycle Project. So she's this friend that you cannot go shopping with her because when you go shopping with her, she's like, who made that? What's the label? Is sustainable? Is eco-friendly? So I'm really afraid. Every time I go next to her, I'm like, she's gonna check me out. I'm like, no, like with her. But you know what? It's really good because she really awake me of this new world about being more conscious about what we wear, not to buy things that are in sale just to have another thing. Think twice, do you need it? Who made it? Can I combine this with different things in my closet? So she really is an educator on that, and she's also recycling uniforms. That is amazing. Then we have Andy Faerman. She calls herself Mama Promedio. So it means that she's just an average mom, but she's not. She's just fabulous, and she looks amazing, and I love that she has this like title that says, Se vale repetir, and it means like you can repeat the clothes, and I think it's amazing because I work on TV and sometimes people think that you just can wear one thing just once. Thank God everything that I wear is just, they give it to me and I return them. So I'm like, so my closet is good. So Andy has the most amazing looks, and I love when she put like these skirts that dances. That's my favorite. Ella dice que la falda que baila, and I love it, so she's amazing. Then we have Camila Straschnoy. She's the nerd of fashion. She knows so much, so you can tell her about anything, and she knows about history, about anything in the world. You can ask her. She's like a Wikipedia of fashion. You can ask her. She's amazing. You can see her podcast. You can see her like mentoring people in Guatemala, everywhere in the world. So she's amazing. So make sure that you guys follow all of these ladies. And then we have Irma Martínez. She's also the moderator of the panel. She's a pioneer in Miami. She was doing stylist before anyone was doing it, so she really knows what she's doing, and she has been dressing celebrities, like you can name anyone, and she has been doing that. She also has the Trendy Academy, so if you guys are interested in learning how to style yourself, or you want to pursue a career in styling, you can go to her school and she can teach you the best styling tips and trends. And then we have Jacqueline. Jacqueline then is from Dominican Republic. She's a designer. Impressively, she's a mom of 3. She looks amazing because she works out every morning, she told me yesterday. So she has a beautiful line in Dominican Republic, and she told me yesterday that if you use 20% of your time with intention, you are good. So make sure you're doing that, following her. And then we have Jossette Rivera, Senior Advisor of Fashion for Univision. As you can tell, she's rocking the trend, the leopard here, the suit. So we have a lot to learn from these ladies, and I left you with the moderator, the fantastic Irma Martínez.
Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. After all that introduction, I think we are ready to start. I am very happy to be the leader of this panel because I have these amazing ladies here, apart from knowing them for the amazing work. They know everything about what's happening in the sustainable fashion world. And today we're talking about fashion throwaway culture. Why are we so obsessed of buying so much, and how we can control this, that way we can help our planet. I'm going to start with the first question for Jacqueline. Why throwaway culture is bad?
Well, I think cheap fashion in general is bad because somebody has to pay. When you pay something $1, $2, $3, $5, somebody else is not being paid for it. And who's paying that? I think the environment is paying that, and underpaid people that works this clothing is paying that, because they are not paying well to these people. They don't have conditions to work. So we have to be aware of what we are buying, and because what we are paying is not the cost of that clothing.
Exactly, and that takes me to my second question with Camila. Who is responsible for changing the way the industry is set up? Designers, companies, consumers?
Oh, that's a hard one. That takes me back to this conversation. I was in New York Fashion Week. I'm an editor. I was there with Elle. And I was talking to my fellow editors. And we were working on an article together that was called "We Need to Marie Kondo Fashion." Because Fashion Week seems so cluttered. And it's consumers that are over-consuming. It's fashion designers that are overproducing. It's oversampling. It's the whole game. So I feel that question does not have an easy answer. I feel we have to keep bringing awareness to consumers. I feel that's an important message that we need to bring across. And that's also another part of the question, is like big players of the industry should start doing things. In New York, per se, like just specifically New York Fashion Week, I could not name one player past February that was doing something towards sustainable fashion. We have the new ones. We have the CFDA new ones. We have Colleen Estrada. We have all these new names that are working towards diversity, inclusivity, sustainability, because sustainability is a topic within a sphere of things that are happening in the fashion world right now. But I could not name the big players. So I just feel we need to keep informing consumers. We need to keep provoking these conversations, but we also need to make the big players in the industry change the way they produce, they sample, and they think fashion, they think season. So it's a broader thing.
Yeah, I think it all comes to the consumer, because the more we consume, of course, the more they're going to produce. It's like a demand. We are demanding more. So that's what the designers and factories are doing. Okay, we have to produce this much because all these people want all this much. So that's perfect. I'm going to ask you, Gabriella, who is at fault for the 25 million pounds of textiles waste that goes into the landfills in the US every year?
Okay, all right, so this is a really big topic. First, I want to start off by saying, okay, I founded something called the Upcycle Project, and it's a platform that raises awareness on the waste that the fashion industry creates. I'm not sure if this mic works. Yeah. Does it work? Okay. So when we look at waste, there are different statistics that we name that are 25 billion pounds of textile waste that go into the secondary clothing market or into the landfill every year. If you know, a lot of us don't recycle our clothes. It's not something that we do naturally. So what do we do with all the clothes that we have that we no longer want? Do we throw it away? Do we donate it? And is that the same thing? So we have to look at fashion as a whole. If we look at fashion, then we can see that it's based on planned obsolescence. Who here knows what that is? All right. Planned obsolescence means that what's in today, what you want right now, will be obsolete next year. So that just creates a throwaway society. So for us to actually really see who is at fault, we really need to look at it systematically. We need to look at the whole system and say, all right, guys, who's at fault? The producer, the consumer. I mean, I want the clothes. I want those shoes. They look fabulous. Why should I not want them? Well, if you're producing them and those shoes are not going to be in next year, then what am I going to do with them? So I think that we just need to shift our consciousness into just having clothes that we really value so that we stop throwing them away.
I think that's remind me, go back to like our parents. Our parents used to buy just the necessary clothes. I remember my mother's closet. I mean, she had the necessary things that she wanted to wear, and she always looked great. And she repeat always her shoes and her bags for everything. Now, especially now in this influencer era, where they're trying to tell you, the social media, like you have to look like her, buy the things like her. Everybody's telling you to buy, because I look good with this, I did that, I'm using this thing. So that's creating a demand of how much we want to purchase.
Yeah, we are, and I wanted to add to what she was saying that's so valuable. I mean, we all keep reading all these numbers, 50+% of the consumers want to buy sustainable, but adding to what Gabi said, it's so good what she brings this topic here. 85% of the people from the last research done in Q1 don't care about buying something that lasts for more than one season. 85% of the consumers. So, as she's saying, is a whole. It's an holistic view to the industry.
Andy, you as an influencer, how can an influencer communicate and create awareness on these subjects?
It is complicated because the truth is that the influencer world that has maybe 10 years has been going through a lot of changes, and it became a business. So on one hand, as an influencer, you can use your voice to actually influence someone and not just sell something. So of course, some people could be talking about this. But not everybody has the right information, so I do feel sometimes influencers try to talk about this subject because it's like the trendy subject right now, and they don't really know what they're talking about. So I feel there are different things you can do as an influencer to actually create awareness, not maybe use all these big words, because I don't use them, but there are little things. I always talk about two things. One thing is what you said, love what you buy. I always say, if you're gonna buy something, fall in love with it. Love it so much that you're gonna wanna wear it today, and in 10 years, love what you're wearing. And on the other hand, what Andrea said that I say, de vale repetir, which didn't start at all because of this. I'm not gonna take credit for something that was not true, but it is actually something I do in my closet, and it's a good example. I think many girls are doing it now, where you grab a piece, something you really like from your closet, and you show different ways of using it, but not a sponsored thing, not with a brand that's giving you, all this stuff that you don't need, but actually with your own stuff. So what I do believe is that we have to go through our closet and fall in love with what we already have and find different ways to wear it. And of course, we all want to shop a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, so maybe be aware of what we really need and use our influence, as influencers to teach that.
Exactly. Jossette, that brings me to your question, because being a stylist for a long time, I realized the importance that celebrities have in consumers. We all want to look like celebrities. The celebrities bring a trend, and we all want to follow that. But now, at the same thing that Andy's saying, now a trend is to be sustainable, so the celebrities are aware of the sustainability, and they are implying that too. So my question for you is, because it's interesting about Meghan Markle and the influence that she has in the last few years in all the fashion industry. What's the role of Meghan Markle in the current fashion trends?
That's really important because Meghan Markle, as all we know, married a prince last year. But when we saw to Meghan Markle, there was the #1 Google person in last year, in 2018. That's not just because of her wedding. The related terms that searched Meghan Markle was Meghan Markle dress, Meghan Markle wedding dress, Meghan Markle gown, Meghan Markle fashion. That means people were looking at her because they want to know what she's wearing. And then happened when people put something of her in Instagram, the small brands broke their sites, all the people want to have that piece. And we began looking at all of these things. I work in Univision Digital, and then when we saw this trend, we noticed that people were looking at Meghan Markle like a sustainable speaker, even if she never says that she is a sustainable people. All the consumers think about her like that. The consumers, the brand, the media, all of us were thinking of her about that. And what we made is this database when we track every single item she wore in the last year. So there's a video over there about this database. And we can saw what she wore and if it was sustainable or not. And then we noticed that there's a lack of information because people doesn't know what means sustainable, because it's that we say it's green, it's artisan, it's handmade, it's vegan, it's like you have all this whole philosophy about clothes that we don't understand what's going on.
I think it's still a lot to be informed. A lot of people just need more information.
Yeah, so what we do is put all this information together, so people need to know what are they wearing celebrities, what celebrities are using, and if it's sustainable or not, or we use the term ethically conscious. That means all of this together, one of them. And as a consumer, what we think is you need to follow a philosophy and then look for the brand that is in line with your philosophy. Because probably I'm not vegan, but I'm really interested in women works and the fair wage and all this stuff. So you don't have to be all together, but you have to look at two people that is using that kind of trends and then follow them and understand what is important for you and then go with the brand.
Gabby, as a consumer and fashion lovers, how can we make a difference in our everyday life?
Well, I think to your point, I think it's really important that us as consumers value what we have. So your clothes really has to go aligned with your own values. Like you were saying, we all value different things. So as long as what your purchases are actually embodying is what you value. If you value women empowerment, then make sure that the brand that you're buying has a social program that empowers women, that keeps them safe from violence. Because women are really at the mercy of the fashion industry, because they're the ones who make our clothes, unfortunately, in developing countries. So I think that that's a really good something to do, to value, not to shop. Stop shopping. You don't need it. I took a vow not to shop fast fashion, and it's really difficult. Because things are pretty and they're accessible and they're everywhere. There's a Sata shop in every corner in the world now. So just really be really mindful of what you buy when it comes to fast fashion, and just make sure that the brands that you do buy are transparent. That you can go on their website and you can see what their social and environmental impacts are, that they're being transparent. Even if they're doing something that's not good, ask them, like, hey, where is this made? Now we have a lot of accessibility because of social media, so, be curious and really value what you have.
And I think also the best way of doing that is buying less.
Yes.
Since I've been conscious of everything, since a few years ago when I really got involved on sustainable fashion and what it's doing to the environment, I realized that I don't need, we go crazy, and like Andy said, yeah, we want to buy here and there, of course, but sometimes we buy things that are similar. Every time I go, I'm liking something, I say, I think I have something similar in my closet, or something that I can make an outfit with this, similar to this, so I stop buying. And that is a big help when you stop buying, and also for your pocket, So if you want to save money, recycle from your closet, wear it a few times, see
Rent your items.
what I usually, swap with your friends. You bring 5 items you don't like. I would love probably 2 or 3 of them. So that's a great way of recycling our own clothes without buying much, because those clothes are already made. I'm a lover of buying secondhand and vintage clothing.
That's what I was going to
I
say.
realized that's been there for 20 years. What are they going to do with that dress? I prefer to buy that than to buy a new one. Who knows what are the standards of those clothes are.
I always like to say, one woman's trash is another woman's treasure.
It's true, and that's so true. Cami, what's the main issue or challenge sustainable fashion faces?
Well, to start that question, information. We don't have access and we don't have the correct information. For example, we were just mentioning renting. Renting is one of the worst solutions to sustainable fashion. Rent the Runway is one of the largest dry cleaners. And if you see the numbers, and you see the numbers of producing clothes, actually within energy and waterways, they're worse. So we have to be aware. And it's about consumption. So I work in consumer research, and consumers, no matter how much we bring awareness to a topic, they're not going to stop consuming the rate they're consuming right now. So it's how we can make circular economy work, so we have a more sustainable solution, and we can reuse and upcycle and reuse what we're doing. And also, I think one of the most important solutions is companies like ThredUp, like The Real, like eBay, where you resell and you give a second life. One woman's
trash is another woman's trash.
I like that, quote that. So that's what I'm saying, and that's better solutions, but information is one of the biggest challenges. Challenge number 2, accessibility. Sustainable fashion is very expensive. So I'm always surrounded by people in the fashion world, in editorial, in more affluent societies. But go to the middle of the US and tell that guy with 4 kids that he needs to dress his 4 kids that grow every month with sustainable clothing. It's unaffordable, it's unrealistic. So the only way I see the solution right now is reusing, buying used, buying seconds hand, and recycling and creating a circular economy, while the big players in the industry work towards bringing those prices down, because sustainable fashion is not accessible for everyone. And we cannot be hypocrites sitting here and being like, oh, buy sustainable. That's what I have to say.
I agree.
Sorry, I got passionate.
Exactly. No, but that's true. That's what the whole problem starts. Andy, how's the influencer world influence the responsible or sustainable side of fashion?
Well, I have to be honest and say it has made it worse. That's the truth. Not only about fashion, I mean, there's so many things that have happened. People feel like some people have a perfect life and, they travel all day and it's so easy. I'm gonna be a fashion blogger because you get everything for free, which, yeah, if you're very famous, it's probably true. But also they're all the time showing us, oh, this is new, oh, this is new, this is new. Like every single picture is something new. So, I mean, we're grown-ups, we know better. We know that that's not the truth. We know that, you can have problems in life and also take a pretty picture. But if you're 17 or 16, you don't know that. And what they know is that they need new stuff, that all the big influencers have decided that, I don't know, the pointy shoes, that you can't wear them anymore. Now they have to be round, so throw them away. This is creating also part of the cycle. Of course, we're smart enough to be able to unfollow. As you can say, you can choose who you want to buy from, you can choose who you can follow. And if that person does not represent your values, you can always unfollow. If it makes you unhappy and watching that makes you miserable, unfollow. We have that tool, it's amazing. We're not forced to do that. So I feel that as influencers, many people don't take that seriously because of course they're getting paid and not by the sustainable brands that don't have a budget sometimes for that. They're paid by big brands and everybody wants to be paid for the work they do. So it's gonna take a while, but it does make it a little bit worse.
Yeah, I think the solution is to follow people that follow everything that you believe in, to really get an inspiration from those people, not just follow people that are inaccessible or that they don't have your same belief. And I think that's a question that I have for you, because that's going back to the celebrities and fashion. People, we all want to look like celebrities. We all follow the celebrity trends. We admire them. It's so easy for them, but how can we do that? Following the relationship between celebrity and fashion, that it's a problem that we have, but it's definitely happening.
It's not easy because they show this perfect world, and we have to understand that they are using clothes, and we want to buy that clothes, but we don't have to buy everything. But also, not everything has to be cheap. And clothes, it's not cheap to create clothes because somebody's paying for that if we are buying cheap. So we have to understand that probably we need to know how much it costs, how much costs what they are using, and how many times I will use that. That's the same that you say. If I'm going to buy this, I'm going to use it 30 times at least. If I'm going to use 30 times, probably the cost is worth it. So I think for celebrities, it's important to understand also what they are using, because they are our speakers, and we want to use what they have. And then when I believe that we have to ask them in the red carpet, who are you wearing? Because they have to tell us who are they wearing, who make that clothes, and how that clothes are made. Because that is important. I want that dress, okay, tell me who made that dress and how it was made. So I think they have this responsibility, as brands have the responsibility to be clear and tell us how they made their clothes. Celebrities have that responsibility. And for media, we need to go looking what are they wearing. It's not so stupid talk about what they are wearing. It's important because people want see to us, see to the brands, see the celebrities to dress themselves.
And they are the perfect sample to push all this movement, to help us realize that we need to be aware of this. For you, Jacqueline, as a designer, what actions are you taking to reduce or prevent the throwaway culture in your designs?
One of the philosophy of the brand is just that. We are putting artisans to work to the brand. I interview my artisan. I go to their house. I see how they manage the techniques so I can create with their art. That's what I believe in my brand. They are doing something so millinery, like from ancestors, like from techniques that it's been in the world for so many times, and fast fashion is not that at all. So they don't want to know how it's constructed. So we take care a lot about the durability of our pieces, that the fabrics that we are using are long-lasting, because we think that's the most effective way of we doing the clothing. You buy Jacqueline, then you can keep that piece forever. Like it's too difficult to get damaged, and if it's you're in the art or whatever, it's something that I believe in you having. You say, well, now I'm Skinner, and you have something like you can go to Jacqueline 10, and then we're gonna fix it for you so you can wear it again. And we are very diligent about our supply chain, the fabrics that we are buying, the people that is working for us, and we know everybody. And we don't hire like a company that makes our clothing. We go to every part of the process. And I go to Colombia when I need another artisan, and I go to their house, I see the people, how they live and everything, I get involved. And that's very good because they get involved with the brand too. They love, like we've been having the show on Sunday at 6:30, so they are so excited they will see their pieces in the show. So it's a lot of love involved in that, and that's magic for me, because it's a love of every entire team of people and artisans working in Jacqueline 10.
I love because it's art, it's art, and at the same time you're helping all these cultures to support their families. And for us in fashion, that's the best thing that's happened in the last few years, how our artisans from Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, everywhere, Dominican Republic, they have come alive with our creations. They are part of the fashion industry finally, and that's a way of helping them to really support their family, show their art, and their art that we're gonna have for a long time. I love when I find things that they used to be my mother's, and my mother used to wear it 30 years ago, and they are still a piece of art. And for me to wear is very unique. So that's going to happen to your clothes eventually in a few years too. So that's amazing. So these are last. If any of you want to add before going to questions, anything else that you want to add before we start in the part of the questioning?
I want to show the video of the database that I was talking about,
Okay.
because I
That's
didn't put
super
it. So
interesting.
you can show what it means to track what somebody is wearing.
It's incredible how one person can influence the whole world.
Yeah, so we have all the stuff that she wore. It was every ring, every shoes, every earring. And
How much
then
sustainable she's wearing?
62%. More,
That's not bad.
62% of the brands she wore was
That's not bad.
sustainable.
That's
That is
not bad
not
for a
bad.
That's
Yeah,
a good
it's really
number.
It's
hard
a
to
really
do
good
that.
number.
That's actually a really good number.
It's difficult to understand what is sustainable or not, because bigger brands has a lot of these policies, difficult to understand. But at the end, she is 62% sustainable, and
not
also she was using a lot of small brands. And that's interesting because she was helping these small brands, because people don't know about the Veja.
Oh, the Veja. We were
shoes
talking about that
we were
before
talking
now,
about,
yeah.
because nobody knew about these French sneakers that were made sustainable with plastic and everything. So when she wear this stuff, she is sending this powerful message, and this is important, that to send messages with their clothes. And what we are doing is tracking it. And as we track Megan, we can track whatever celebrity to understand what are really happening with the clothes they are using and how many times they use it, because probably their shoes are not sustainable. We know they are all Italian shoes. But if she used it 5 or 7 or 10 times, then it became different than if she used just once.
Yeah, and I think this is the role of anyone that is an influencer in some way to promote all these type of things. Like I use my social media to promote that I wear the clothes a bunch of times, that I buy secondhand, I recycle. I don't go shop just for shopping. I teach in my classes how to be a smart shopper, and that's one of the things I teach, how not to be an impulsive buyer, what to look every time you have the urge to buy, So it's important, and that's the good thing that social media is doing a lot, bad things to promote, like Andy was saying, to promote what's happening in fashion, but at the same time, it's a lot of people doing great things, promoting the good side of creating awareness of how we can be more sustainable in all different ways. For me, particularly, I say save money, wearing the same clothes over and over again, and I have fun because you have to be more creative. So that's a good thing too.
I would like to add a lot of, about this part of Throwaway, and for me, the key to get this point is to educate our young people about what they are buying and how that affect our environment and what they are doing as a responsibility, and to our child, so they grow with this new value, put value in their heart. And that is the way I think we can control a little bit.
I feel we're doing a good job. I was actually, I was doing this research for Gen Z. Gen Z is everyone that was born from 96 to 2011, and they are looking at craftsmanship as the new luxury. So because of values, the driver behind sustainability and the real driver behind all that from a consumer perspective and a consumer research is guilt. Most people don't really care anything about sustainability. They're just guilty, and they want to exit that guilt spiral they're in. So from a consumer perspective, consumer research, that's the actual reason. But the Gen Z generation has a lot of different values than millennials, and they see emotion in the craftsmanship, and the craftsmanship and those pieces tackle that emotion. And because of that, and that's a marketing thing, I'm not saying anything nobody doesn't know, but because of that emotion that they tackle with the craftsmanship and that human error, and that they are now appreciating that much better. So I feel we are raising a better generation.
I see it in my kids. My kids are so aware of everything that's happening, how they eat, how they behave. I didn't do that when I was growing up. You know, my kids are in the early 20s. So they're aware. I mean, they're aware of spending, they're aware of what they buy, how they react to things in life. So that's a good thing. I think we probably don't see it in this generation, but the following generation, I think the next generation is going to be a lot well educated, better than us in consuming. So now we are opening to questions. Anybody have a question, and for who?
Camila, I'm curious about the Rent the Runway fact that you mentioned, because and there's numbers and statistics about reusing clothes, you save probably 50% of the resources if you reuse one more time. So how is it calculated? You know, you said something about being the biggest dry cleaner.
Yeah, so I was reading, I don't remember the facts, but I'm happy to share it. There's a scholar paper by Harvard Business Review. It was published 2 weeks ago, and it was explaining all these numbers. So it was water waste, chemicals within the water, because we keep repeating fashion is the most polluting industry in the world. What fashion pollutes is water, and it's chemicals that go in the water what creates this pollution. So because of that cycle, and I'm sorry, I cannot just give you the exact facts, and I don't want to lie to you, but it's Harvard Business Review. Yeah, it's Harvard Business Review, scholar papers. If you go to Google Scholar and you Google this, it's there. If not, I'm happy to give you my email, and I'll give it to you later, or anyone.
I can add a little bit about it. Sorry. I just went on February to Harvard to a leadership program, and they have the case of Runaway. And it's just not about the water, it's always about to keep in fashion. It's in 6 months, all these warehouse they have of clothing, they have to replace it. So it's adding a lot to the throwaway culture.
Yeah, that was my second, that's perfect, thank you.
But the case is in a Harvard Business Review, and the name is the Runaway. It has all the data on it. You can have it there.
But that information has to come out because they do
It was on the New York Times last year. The New York Times ran a big story on the Sunday paper on that. It's been out there. I mean, and I'm not saying they're the devil here, but I just want to say we have to be aware, and we have to have the information to choose. It all comes down to being educated. I'm not saying they're the devil. I'm not saying they cannot be part of a solution. They might be. We're just all trying. sustainable fashion is really new. It's been like 15 years. So we are still trying to find our way within this whole sphere of recycling, upcycling, renting, consignment, you know? But right now, their numbers, they're not in the sustainable side of things.
So I can add a little bit to that. It's really interesting to see when you have first movers in the marketplace, such as Rent the Runway. That was one of the first companies that started really renting stuff that we wanted to wear, right? And they grew so quickly that they actually did become, as Cami said, the biggest dry cleaner in the world. And this is a problem that they did not foresee. So what happens in sustainability? Everybody is trying to innovate. Just like when we first had acid wash jeans. They didn't realize the impact that that acid was going to have in the world's waterways when Walmart started acid washing jeans. So this is something that we really need to be mindful as consumers. Is okay, we're going to adopt this trend of sustainability as a trend. Well, I'm going to rent. Well, sometimes that also has an impact. So it's just being mindful of the impact that every one of our choices has. So it's not pointing fingers, as Camila was saying, like, oh yeah, this is the bad guy. No, there is no bad guy. Everyone's trying to do better, and so are these renting companies. There's a lot of research that's going on in the dry cleaning industry to make dry cleaning better for the environment. So, you know, like, it's a work in progress.
And one thing leads to the other one.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it's an endless battle that we're fighting to sustain as much of us in this planet with our same habits.
It's very complicated. There's this brand, I don't know if you heard about it, Orange Fiber, I think
Yes.
it's called. So their textiles are done with waste. But then after, you know, the end use of the product, they don't take care of that. So after these beautiful things they are doing, Ferragamo, right, prices and all that, then they have to solve this other problem that they never took care of in the beginning.
Yeah,
So
it's about closing that loop. Circular economy is part of the bigger solution, but as we're all saying and repeating ourselves, it's a new thing. So we are all trying to figure out, okay, how we come up with solutions. And as she was saying just now, with the dyes for the denim, nobody foresee all of these that's happening right now. So it's about closing the loop and finding the best solutions to create a circular economy where all these really good initiatives can start to be a circular thing and be reused, and being conscious also of energies, using the energy we use, the resources we use. So it's like a larger, I know, it's a snowball.
Anybody else have a question?
Well, I'm just being curious because Cami mentioned that millennials are consuming sustainability because of guilty feelings. So it makes me think there is a lot of companies that they are trying to be like conscious, such as H&M. They are creating a line which is eco-friendly, and my question is, they are being guilty, or is another business strategy? Because what happened with the 95% that I'm selling, for example?
I love it. So
She's my student, by the way.
I like it.
I'm learning.
So it's basically supply and demand. So guilt is the driver behind all sustainability. And when it's that demand, companies as H&M, they have whole research teams that do consumer research, so they are aware of these. So they're basically trying to tackle that market. I'm not sure they care at all about sustainability. Maybe they do, maybe I don't know them personally, but as a marketing strategy, they're tackling into the guilt, and that guilt is the emotion. So from that strategy to sell things to our consumers, we know the driver is guilt. How do we tackle that? Proposing a solution where they will have the same amazing novelty products every month at an affordable price while we tackle that guilt that we are producing.
In these numbers, it's interesting to say that millennials, we just read a new study about Common Objective is the name. It's 60% of the millennials declare that they want to buy sustainable fashion, but just the 37% buy it. I want to do it, but I'm not really doing that. So it's interesting why they are not doing that.
I think because the price. They can afford. They can afford the sustainability. It's easier for them to buy Forever 21, H&M, Zara, because everybody can afford that. So they want to do it because happens to my daughter. My daughter is a young professional starting out. She goes, Mom, I can afford it. I mean, with my budget, I can only afford a $20 pair of t-shirt, or, I can only afford jeans from H&M. So you have to understand that, when you are at that age, you can afford it. And for me, that I say I can afford it, I'm not buying it because I feel guilty. So that's the idea, that's what we want to do.
No, I mean, H&M Conscious just did a collaboration with Orange Fiber, and it was really interesting because when I was speaking to the founder of Orange Fiber, she told me, she's like, look, we had so much stock, we didn't know what to do with it, and H&M bought it, and they were really our only client that could afford our fabric, because our fabric is highly innovative and it's expensive. So H&M really gave them a platform, because I'm the first one to criticize them and be like, you're doing a capsule collection that is absolutely not sustainable, what are you doing, etc. And because it's really difficult to define, but we can't point fingers, and that's really one of the biggest learnings that I've taken out of all the research that I've done. It's just like, finding a bad guy doesn't solve the problem, so be the solution, point blank.
Thank you. Any other question? Over there in the back. I don't know. I think they were bringing it to someone here, and then we pass it to you. Is that okay? Okay. Fair.
I'm a nurse's aide, so I dress people a lot, from 8 to 40 people in 2 hours. And we only have seconds to dress these people when we're dressing them. A lot of people that I see, you girls look fantastic, and there's a lot of people during the Fashion Week, their bodies are fantastic. But there are some that don't have the bodies and they're going more with the thinner women than the heavier women, where there's a lot more heavier women coming out. Different proportions of the body. Education, like you said, is key. You get somebody to love a garment, they need to learn how to love themselves and learn their body first before they should go out shopping and learn about their hair, skin tone. The whole picture blends together, and when I'm looking at garments for my patients, I'm ready to choke some designers because the stuff is terrible, and I look at proportions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Well, as a stylist, I've been dressing all type of bodies for 25 years, and I see what you're saying. And I think a big difference now, because it's great designs at this point now for all type of sizes. I'll give you, we'll talk in a little bit, I'll give you some hints. But what you say is important, because how you dress makes you feel good. So the most important thing is to love yourself, and then it's the clothes is an external thing that comes together with what you're feeling inside. So love yourself first, then wear something that makes you feel powerful. I don't follow trends. I don't follow any rules when it comes to fashion, because I made my own rules. The things that made me happy and made me feel good in my own skin, because I dress for myself. I don't dress for anybody else, not even for my husband. The poor thing laughs at me every day of what I wear. So I like everybody, always thinking about what the people think. I dress for myself because that's what made me happy, and I can be the best of me that I can give to others. So people sometimes see fashion as something frivolous, and I don't feel like that. I feel it's something that gives you power, and that's what is good. Doesn't matter what size you are, you have to feel great in your own skin, and just what you wear is part of it.
And I think there is where celebrities and also influencers are important, because they have to show out their real body. We have to see them as they are, because always we are people looking amazing with these bodies and these clothes, and they are not like this all the time. And we have to see that. We have to
stop photoshopping that.
Yes.
But there's a really cool new 3-year-old brand that's called Universal Standard. What they actually do is they're researching the world, and they created the new standards for the real body. That's over a size 14, where in most retailers you cannot find over a size 12 in the US, and the problem is within the buyers. Designers stay with all that stock because buyers are not buying larger than size 12. But check Universal Standard, it's really cool.
Okay, we're gonna have one last question before we wrap, because I think it's time they give me the little thing that we have to wrap.
Yeah,
so we have one last question.
I guess just to look back, it's not a question. I was just gonna comment on the issue of high street brands such as H&M, for instance, and about the guilt. And I will defer to say that guilt is not the only driver for sustainability. I think there's a lot of responsibility and also information that we already have in our hands, and we understand we need to move forward like in any other industry. But just to say, H&M is obviously one of those brands that we're always going to be like, oh, but they have the resources to support innovations. They have the H&M award they give every year to look for those solutions, innovation, and then they need to scale. I invite you to go to H&M.com because they just launched a month ago. Every single garment has a sustainable description on their products now. This took them years to actually implement, and this is pure transparency. And from my experience and point of view, I know how hard this is, and I know to make that executive decision to publish that, it's a huge step that hopefully other brands will follow. So every little helps, every step forward will make the fashion industry more sustainable. And I think we need to go more on the collaborative approach to solve the solution rather than just like punish them just for actually moving forward. Because trust me, like it's so hard for a brand like that to take one little step. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a very valuable comment. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you, ladies. So happy to have all of you here with all your knowledge. And I hope you guys still allowed to come in Miami Fashion Week. Have fun.